Hello everyone, my name is Nathan P. Butler. This is my Star Wars vlog, the voice of reason or lack thereof, and this time we're doing a quick trailer reaction for Rogue One, the official teaser trailer, released on April 7th, 2016. Woo! Got some excitement going on here. I have to say I'm probably more hyped up for this film than I was for The Force Awakens, because this trailer does a really good job of providing some information about the story, give us some good action, and it really it wells up that sense of, oh, this is going to be awesome, whereas the Force Awakens trailers were more about nostalgia and sort of hitting the heartstrings, making you think, oh my god, it's finally happening, Episode 7! So let's take a look, and we'll break it down as we go.
State your name for the record.
Jin Ursa.
So our introduction to Jin. Now, let's just stop right there. One, I love the music that they're using here. They're using Star Wars music done essentially with the piano very slowly, sort of at a slightly different, what's the word, cadence, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So I really do dig that, and I'm hoping that eventually when we get a soundtrack for Rogue One, that is actually on there. That is actually pretty cool. This, of course, is Felicity Jones. I don't know her from Adam, so to speak. So it'll be interesting to see how well she plays this role. I know there's already a lot of consternation out there. Oh my god, it's another Star Wars film with a lead role that's a female! Ah! But it's weird because I'm actually seeing more of the I can't believe they're throwing another female lead in there thing than what I expected, which was oh, there's a new female lead and she's white? Although I am also seeing quite a bit of the I can't believe they threw in a new female lead role and she's white, which is not the big issue, and she's another brunette. It's like, really? So now we need some type of diversification in terms of hair color? People? Chill. Maybe Star Wars needs some more strong female characters in the films after the way that Padme was handled in Revenge of the Sith, where she became barefoot and pregnant and did nothing. And maybe, just maybe, women that represent half of society actually can be strong leads themselves. It doesn't mean that men are being downplayed. It's just that all of a sudden, we've got some female leads that are actually headlining the films. Again, chill. Jumping into this scene, I find it interesting that we see her in cuffs, it seems, but they're talking about crimes against the Empire, and yet she's in custody while in rebel hands? Interesting.
Forgery of Imperial documents, possession of stolen property, aggravated assault, resisting arrest.
On your own from the age of 15.
Mon Mothma!
Aggressive and undisciplined.
Is that Biggs?
It's a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
Again, I love the fact that we have the person who was hired to play Mon Mothma for Revenge of the Sith, who got some screen time, and then had all of her scenes cut, which is also part of eviscerating Padme's character in the film, right? Because all those scenes were what gave Padme something to do in the film. And now she's back, actually looking more like Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi than she originally did, and giving us an almost perfect transition visual between the Revenge of the Sith Mon Mothma and the one in Return of the Jedi. And it's nice here to see her having a sense of humor, to have her sort of laugh at the idea of, it's a rebellion. I rebel. That, I think, works very well. I think that it's very easy to get a sense of Mon Mothma being extremely severe, dour, and just kind of dark because of the way she's portrayed in Return of the Jedi. She doesn't really smile. She seems kind of shell-shocked almost in Return of the Jedi, like this news has blown her away to the point where she's so traumatized by what has happened with the Bothans and whatnot that she's having trouble going in and making her part of the presentation. And here she is as much more of a vibrant character, able to take humor out of what's supposed to be, I guess, sort of a dressing down of this character, of Jin.
We have a mission for you. A major weapons test is imminent.
Again,
To know what it is and how to
people freaking out. We have some extremely detailed Star Destroyers, not sure if those are models or if those are CG. If they're CG, they're fantastic. And we have the Death Star under construction. This should make it clear to anyone seeing this that no, this is not a sequel to Episode 7. This is taking place before A New Hope, before the original 1977 film, because they're building the Death Star. But it seems like there's still some movement out there to feel like there needs to be some clarification on this for more casual viewers. There's also already some continuity talk, because here we see the dish of the super laser being attached to the station, whereas if you go back and look at the sort of skeletal version of the Death Star at the end of Revenge of the Sith, it sort of looks like it's already got part of the super laser dish already built. I would argue that what we're seeing in Revenge of the Sith is actually more like a framework, or a frame to put the dish onto, and then this is the actual dish. So what we would see in Revenge of the Sith is underneath what we're seeing here, but that's entirely speculation on my part.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
And in some aspects, this really does sound like a typical war movie. A lot of that you could have seen in any movie, any war movie. This guy. Not really sure who this guy is. Nice that he's got the gun, almost looks like it could come from a toy. Nice that they got the Death Star projection, or whatever you want to call it, the view screen behind him that we see in A New Hope. And he's wearing what looks like a Grand Admiral's uniform, or an Imperial Intelligence ISB uniform, and that it is white, kind of like Wolf Yularen when we see him briefly in A New Hope. Of course, the character that carries over chronologically from the Clone Wars, added retroactively to it, of course. There's been some talk of, who is this guy? Who could he be? And along with the rumors of the idea that Grand Admiral Thrawn, or Thrawn in some form, Mithron Nuruodo, might show up in Rebels, there's talk of, could this guy be Thrawn? And then well, he can't be Thrawn, right? Because he's a white human guy. Thrawn should be blue-skinned, red eyes. Well, one, we don't know if Thrawn even exists in canon yet. Two, if he does exist in canon, we don't know if he is still a Chiss. That's how I've always pronounced it, Chiss or Kiss. We don't know if he's really still blue-skinned, red eyes in canon, if he exists in canon. But even if so, maybe this still is Thrawn. Because you know what the trend is, right? Whitewashing in Hollywood. Here's a character that's supposed to be blue skin and red eyes, played by a white guy. Huh, Hollywood's so white. Again, a lot of much ado about nothing, at least in terms of people freaking out about this trailer, because we don't know who the guy is. Love the new Stormtroopers there in the background. They got that top part, sort of almost a visor-looking thing, which kind of reminds me of the new pilot helmets that we saw in The Force Awakens. Holy shit, it's Forrest Whitaker! Forrest Whitaker's in Star Wars! Thing about it, though, is that when I see this, I don't think, hey, it's a character played by Forrest Whitaker. I think, hey, it's Forrest Whitaker. So in that sense, I don't know. There's a part of me that doesn't like this casting because he's such a recognizable actor, but at the same time, you can make the same argument for Natalie Portman, Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Christopher Lee back in the prequel trilogy. And it took us a while to get used to seeing them, and even to some extent now, we still see them and think, well, that's Liam Neeson. He's going to find you, he's going to kill you if you take his child. But you get used to the idea of them as the character, and it turns out fine. As opposed to if you look at Rey or Finn, or you look back at Luke and Leia, and even to an extent Han back in the day, if you were watching the Star Wars films as they came out, those people weren't as recognizable at the time, which made it so they immediately were ingrained on you as the character, not as the actor playing the character. Forrest Whitaker, in this case, is the only one that really jumps out at me like that. But again, it's because I haven't really seen Felicity Jones in anything else and whatnot. Or Donnie Yen.
What will you do?
Uh-oh! Are they Stormtroopers that are in black armor? Are they Shadow Troopers? Are they Death Troopers? What are they? Again, and people are freaking out about these guys. I'll take it back a clip here. People are freaking out about these guys because they don't look like standard Stormtroopers. Well, no, they don't. And when we got The Empire Strikes Back, there were Snowtroopers. They didn't look like standard Stormtroopers. When we got Return of the Jedi, we got Scout Troopers. They didn't look like standard Stormtroopers. People weren't freaking out and saying they can't possibly have existed at the time of A New Hope because they weren't in it. who's to say that these guys didn't exist when A New Hope and the other films were going on and we just didn't see them? Or maybe there's some earlier version of something we see later. We don't have the context, we don't know. Maybe not the best time to freak out. If anything to freak out about is present here is the fact that it looks like a evaporator behind them, which suggests that this is happening on Tatooine, as we also get hints of in other shots in the trailer.
You do when they catch you.
Nice subway station there. What will they do when they're caught, as opposed to if they're caught, which is sort of fatalistic. I like that about that character's lines. Notice here you've also got these new Stormtroopers in sort of the tan armor there. We're being told at this point that the rumors are saying that those are sand troopers, which is gonna blow people's minds, because remember, Stormtroopers with the little pauldrons on their shoulders, that's a sand trooper, the way we've always been taught, thanks to toys and whatnot. But another new type of trooper here, running through what apparently is a subway, which is probably on the Death Star, based on some of the imagery that Chris Travas, I believe, created for some of the other works.
What will you do if they break you?
Now, this guy, Donnie Yen. There were some rumors initially that he may be playing Kanan. It seems like Freddie Prinze Jr. has shot that down, but I think that him walking with the stick held outward is possibly an indication this is supposed to be a blind character. It's just one shot. That could not be true, but it seems probable, and maybe we got another blind master type of archetype going on here, kind of like with Kanan after what happened at the end of Season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. We'll just have to see. There's also, of course, images going around where people have already turned his staff here into a lightsaber. That's just going to probably confuse people because, no, he doesn't have a lightsaber in the film as far as we know. Boom! Welcome to the Dead Bodies. A lot of darker imagery. If you continue to fight, what will you become? Coolest shot of the trailer right here to me. This broad landscape, them running out and running towards the AT-ATs, which of course are looking down and firing. It's the kind of shot that you kind of wish they could have pulled off for The Empire Strikes Back, but at the time they couldn't, and now we're getting that sort of realized, very much like Lucas's idea of, well, there were things he couldn't realize back with the original trilogy that he then tried to realize with the prequels. Now we're seeing it the next step beyond, because we're already 10 years plus after the prequels, and technology has continued to expand. So dig in that. Very cool shot there. Apparently should become like a TIE fighter pilot or a Death Star gunner or something is what she'll become. That, of course, is the last shot before our very cool music and title image. Now, there's a couple things about this that stand out to me. One, I love the fact that we have here what looks like a gritty Star Wars war movie, a little more adult-oriented, a little darker than what we've necessarily seen in the other Star Wars films, at least the ones in this era. This goes back to one of the vlogs that I wrote recently, or that I recorded recently, video-wise, about that whole, The Force Awakens is the first real Star Wars film since 1983, and how that's actually more just a mindset of some, because there's a distinct tonal shift in Star Wars around the end of the 90s, where it goes from being more fanciful, more mythological archetypes into something that's a little harder sci-fi, more realities of warfare, more tragic. And then The Force Awakens kind of shifted back towards the original trilogy's feel. Rogue One seems like it's much more of a prequel-era, war without end type of story, being told, though, in the context of an original trilogy era. It'll be interesting to see how the different factions within fandom react to this film once it is out. There's also the question, of course, of, well, Rogue One, how does that relate to Rogue Squadron? Are they saying that Rogue Squadron now has an origin that ties into the finding of the Death Star plans? If so, why don't they appear in A New Hope? And so on and so on. There was a German Toy Fair image a while back that showed Slave One, of course, Jango Fett / Boba Fett / Hondo Onaka's ship, and had Rogue One listed with it, with one being written out in such a way that, you could think, well, maybe it's Rogue One as in Rogue, Roman numeral 1. Maybe Rogue One refers to somehow that ship being used as Rogue One instead of Slave One within the film. Again, kind of doubtful, but they do have a lot of promotions coming up with different Boba Fett figures and whatnot, which may suggest that he may have a role within the film, given when those are being released. Again, all kind of speculative at this point. Given the fact, though, that back in 2002, after working on Prelude to Hope, which never wound up coming out, with Clear Concrete Productions, Devin Reed, Christopher Newsom, and them, we had actually worked on a fan film script called Star Wars Second Strike. It was going to be a gritty war Star Wars fan film, doing something that didn't include Jedi, that was much darker, that was much rougher, that was more realities of war stuff. Didn't get made as a fan film. We wound up making it as the first serious Star Wars fan audio drama released online in that genre. And we put it out in 2002, 2003 was the other 2 acts. And at the time, people, for the most part, were positive on it, but we had a lot of people saying, Star Wars doesn't get this dark. Star Wars doesn't do gritty war drama. Star Wars can't do gritty war drama, even though the New Jedi Order had already begun. Then we get books like Shatterpoint, and people starting to get a sense that Star Wars can be really dark and harder sci-fi. And now it's just kind of taken as a given, thanks to things like Legacy of the Force and whatnot, that yes, Star Wars can be dark. But this is the first time we're seeing a dark, gritty war drama in Star Wars as a movie. It will be very, very interesting to see how critics react to it and fans react to it. But so far, I am very psyched, very stoked. I really think that this is going to be a great film, and I can't wait for December. So that's my thoughts on the official teaser trailer from April 2016 for Star Wars Rogue One. Of course, you can check out the vlog here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/chronoradio, along with things like From the Star Wars Home Video Library and whatnot, which has, for instance, a recent episode on all the different US releases of The Force Awakens. This has been Nathan P. Butler. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.